Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording session of Hearthstone. Although, kind of unlikely it's even going to be a session, let's be honest here. There is one day, or I think actually 2 days now, since Christmas. Nothing has happened. Let's trade this. Rogue, Beasts, combo cards. Let's see if we can maybe get the combo pack going here and see what we can play. Like, very little has happened for me or the rest of the world. I suppose, I guess it's worth mentioning that at this current point, and I say it this way because by the time this video goes out, it's almost certainly that. Why did I get a counterfeit coin instead of a regular coin? That's interesting. Oh, because the counterfeit coin is an actual card. These are combo cards. So counterfeit coin with another card. So 2 coins. Carrie Fisher and George Michaels has passed away. Nothing really to say about that, but I almost have nothing to talk about at all. And looking at the Steam sale, it is still very possible I'm not going to spend any money on the Steam sale at all.
What you got there?
But I did a second pass, went from $940 worth of games down to $250 worth of games, and I very likely will go on another filter and cut it down even less. $250, not incredibly large amount of money to spend on video games, particularly if you're just not buying yourself or anybody else gifts, as it were. But it's also possible that, let's see.
Victory for Sylvanas.
Job's done.
Just do that. There we go. Lots of combo cards. Although I don't even know if I have to activate their combo ability. I may just have to play the cards. So yeah, like I said, almost certainly by the time this video goes out, somebody else of at least moderate importance will have died. No offense to George Michaels, but I honestly don't feel like his music was that important or good. And Carrie Fisher hasn't been in any movies besides Star Wars cameos, as far as I know, in decades. So that too is a consideration. I guess I really don't have to win here. George Michaels being 50, that's a little bit of a surprise. Carrie Fisher didn't look very healthy, and she was a little bit older, I believe. I could be a little wrong about that. Let's see. Just keep on getting victories.
Here we go.
Job's done.
So moving on to things. Christmas is happening, and yeah, after Christmas, part of the problem too about buying video games is I've bought a lot of Lego. I've gone crazy on the Lego. Ironically, I bought a lot of Christmas themed Lego too, and I'm not really a fan of Christmas, so I kind of just, in some blind ambition, decorated for Christmas without ever actually intending to. Which, whatever, it didn't matter, but
Scourge will consume you.
let's go ahead and take the victory. In fact, even today I bought yet another Lego set full of characters for this Christmas village. It's very nice, and I'm gonna have it on display year round. Sadly, nobody really comes around my house to look at any of these things, so maybe. Yeah, I'm not gonna promise that I'd ever put pictures or video up on my channel or anything like that, but it's very nice, and you can certainly see better versions of some of the versions online by other people. Moving on, Frog Fractions 2 was found inside a game called Glitter Mitten Grove, which is a 2-week-old game. The ARG that was around hiding, that was hinting at where that game was going to be and all of that, I guess got solved, and they found Frog Fractions 2. Now, weird position as far as that. Frog Fractions 1 is a free game that's not on Steam. Frog Fraction 2 is on this $20 game. Neither one of them are really worth probably playing, from my perspective. Maybe eventually at some point, but they're the secretiveness and the sneakiness around these games, and while there is some sneakiness inside these games, it's just kind of
what to do,
not something that I think really does anything, nor does it really help anything. Let's do this. Because once everybody knows, just in general, that Frog Fractions is this subversive game where you
what you got there?
What do you do in it? It looks like a kid's game, an educational kid's game, but there's some secrets to it, and then it turns into something different. As once you know that general idea, and see, I barely even know that general idea, you kind of know everything there is to know. I saw an article that said 2016 was a good year for Japanese games because of Final Fantasy 15 and one other game. What was the other game? Eco, not Shadow of the Colossus, The Last Guardian. Yeah, the sequel. So because of Final Fantasy 15 and The Last Guardian, 2016 was a good year for Japanese games. I kinda completely disagree there.
Cha-ching!
Even if you are gonna try to make an argument that this is a good year for Japanese games, it wouldn't be because of their particularly when you consider The Last Guardian is a very delayed game that still doesn't work very well and isn't being hugely well received and isn't selling off the shelves and isn't super popular. And then when you consider that they've already said they're going to have to patch missing parts of the story for Final Fantasy 15, and Final Fantasy 15 is the most westernized version of Final Fantasy. You know, I'm dropping my mouse. If it sounds like I'm getting closer and further away from the microphone, that's what I'm doing. I picked up my mouse. So, like, you have to ask yourself seriously, in what way is this a good year? Because that doesn't really work. And let's say I was going to ignore those two options of those games and think about some other Japanese games. I can't really think of any other Japanese games that really came out either. Anyways, part of that, of course, is that most games are still kind of coming out for Sony, and they've just now have started to put out some feelers to releasing PC versions of Japanese games. So maybe in 2017 we will see the beginning of a strong year for Japanese games, particularly on PC, but no, I wouldn't say 2016, even with all the PlayStation 4 games I can think about that really Japanese now. It wasn't that good. Giant Bomb has pretty much asked every single person they know, every person in the video game industry, every single person that that has written or reviewed any video games.
Ha, this guy's toast.
Job's done.
Just almost like dozens and dozens of people already on day 3 have come back with their top 10 lists of video games for 2017. It's nice to get a nice sample there. It's almost like a scientific survey where they're saying 400 people were sampled for their top 10 and they weren't giving any real requirements, and this is what we got. 90%, if not 95 or 99% of all the top 10 lists are exactly the same. A lot of people still saying Firewatch is really good. I'm still kind of trying to avoid playing that one.
Got there.
Let the dark consume you.
Well, I'm trying to avoid it just until it's cheaper. Honestly, that's my only real concern there.
Shadow strike. Hey, lights out.
Lots of games the same. Doom, again, another game that's too expensive. This is becoming a more obvious problem that has probably been here since the beginning. Is just trying to cover new games even a year later is really, really expensive. And certainly my channel's not bringing in enough ad revenue for that to counteract these things. Let's see, if I did this, nothing. So we could do this. And
hey,
that.
Lights out. Cha-ching. Shadow strike.
Here we go.
Kill this guy in the turn. On top of a ridiculous amount of top 10 lists which I'm going through, and they're helping me find a few games that are unmentioned. They're also making me realize that there's a lot of games that are not on Steam that came out in 2016. There's a lot of games that simply just aren't on Steam at all. The EA Origin stuff is not on Steam, and I didn't directly realize that that was the case.
Cha-ching.
Here we go.
The Uplay stuff is on Steam.
I usually work alone.
So heal this guy, put this
What
here.
you got there?
Then I should play this.
Job's done.
Turn. A lot of Nintendo stuff not on Steam, but surprisingly little. Well, not really even surprisingly. Totally believably, very little Nintendo games came out, so there's very little Nintendo games that have been given any kind of recognition.
Here we go.
Cha-ching.
This will be an irritating way for him to lose. Play this. And then play this.
My dream ends. Your nightmare begins.
So now he's down to 1. Giant Bomb is also doing its extensive 3 hours a day of end-of-year reviews in which people are just sitting around arguing over lists of like which game they're giving to their categories. Their categories not as stupid as the Steam categories.
Here we
I
go.
will grant them that. I could have played this and because while they give away like best style as far as a category, it's not that big a deal. And so 20 rogue cards have been played. They also focus on, we'll play the beast pack now, that they also focus on realistic things like best new character. They don't go the full traditional on Giant Bomb, I will say that. They don't go for the best action game, they don't go for the best sports game, best adventure game. You almost would just invite pedantic arguments if you started that way anyways. I'm sure somebody out there does go like that and try to categorize every single game and make hard limits. This is an action game, this is an adventure game, this is an action adventure game, and somebody maybe out there has like 20 different categories of games, so they can give 20 different best games out there. I am not certain there actually are 20 worthwhile games that came out in 2016 though, if we're just going to be honest with ourselves. So I kind of like how they do it. I will say though that they gave away their hot mess category to Palmer Luckey, and I feel like one person's political dislike of it, of Palmer Luckey, what Palmer Luckey did, supporting Trump posts that are just poop posting as what they called it, and then in this argument they said that Palmer Luckey kind of just lied about it and never came out and just admitted that he supported this, which maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I think it was a little too political for the video game industry to support him, and I think it's a little too political for the video game industry for them to say he was the biggest hot mess. Now, that being said, Palmer Luckey is kind of risking all of Oculus Rifts, and lots of people, after hearing about him supporting the Trump post, said they weren't going to make Oculus Rift games anymore, and they pretty much completely made Palmer Luckey disappear from that company, even though they did come out and say that yes, he still works there, but everything's said and done, I don't think Oculus Rift was established enough. I would have almost drawn the line to say if this was the Xbox division head and had done something like this, that would be big. And if people had said, well, we're not going to make Xbox games anymore because the person in charge of the Xbox, whoever that is that Steve Ballmer? I'm not sure. I don't think it is anymore, at least. Then it would be kind of impactful. But frankly, none of the VR companies have come out with good games. VR has not caught on. The video game industry is not tightly intertwined, and its future is not resting on whether VR succeeds or not. So while Palmer Luckey almost certainly hurt his company, and the Oculus Rift's future, they really didn't hurt the industry. And when you compare it to No Man's Sky, which is what they had as runner-up, and should have said, there is a industry-wide problem with No Man's Sky that deserves to be considered the bigger mess there. Because if it wasn't just that the creator of No Man's Sky was saying yes to everything and saying that it was going to have all these features that
Job's done.
that the interviewers were asking about. It was also that the interviewers were asking about these things, and then they were hyping it up. This hype train had many engineers for No Man's Sky. It was every single person who ever wrote an article hyping up No Man's Sky and was not critical of some obvious facts, like it's a new company. Yes, it's being funded by Sony, but we don't know by how much or how much they care about it. There were a few red flags, not a lot, but those flags were overlooked by the journalists who should have been objective, who should have warned. This is what I do when I do retrospectives, and when I play Resident Evil 6 and I say, I know everybody in the world is saying Resident Evil 7 is good and that you should believe. Just believe and it will be true. And I know all of this, but at the end of the day, past performance has to be the #1 consideration, not what other people say.
Job's
And
done.
when you look at RE6, you should be aware to buy RE7. When you look at Umbrella Corps Mercenaries, which is an even newer game that was lazily made in garbage and was another of the hot mess games, you have to be wary of RE7. And I'm gonna totally probably eat crow on this. RE7's probably gonna be good. I probably am. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's probably gonna be good. You have to still act like it's not gonna be good, because that's what Capcom has been putting out for a while. And I would not be surprised if there's some twist where Umbrella Corps 7, Resident Evil 7 is like an hour long or 2 hours long of gameplay, just super short. And maybe they have really good quality for that little bit of time, but maybe that's the thing that's gonna change things around. But I kind of get on the rant. Again, I think they made the wrong decision. I think they got their own politics on this. I think in a lot of ways there's growing problems and probably underlying problems with Giant Bomb that were always there, and I'm just starting to see them. As far as they're just all New York and California people, even though they're split between the two, it doesn't kind of really matter. They're getting into their own group. More than I would say they're just general liberals because they are surrounded by liberals. I would say they're general video game liberals because they're surrounded by video game liberal people, in the sense that they're friends with everybody, it seems like, in the video game industry. And that's no way to be an objective journalist, to be a friend. If you watch like a presidential briefing, not a full-on State of the Union speech address, but when the president comes out and he's just saying a few things, and then there's all those interviewer people, all those journalists in the pulpit there, you can pretty much tell that they're all great friends with the president, and they're there just to write down exactly what the president says and then report it. and they're going to ask some softball questions. It's not hardball journalism. It's not going to it's not going to fix it's not gonna find out any new information. It's just not good journalism anymore. And
Are you my master?
Giant Bomb, in a lot of ways, while they keep saying they're a group of personalities of people, they keep changing people too. I'm still waiting, and I may be proven wrong about this also, but I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop, which I think it will at the end of this end of the year review, where either Dan Reichert totally leaves, which may not be the case because he's moving to New York, and but I wouldn't be surprised if another one of them left. There's fewer and fewer people, and less of them are actually talking. They bring in the people who are in charge of running the equipment in the back, and they barely even play video games. So let's do this.
Time's up. Let's do this.
And that. Let's see, how long have we been going? 26 minutes.
Made to fit.
Let's see.
Made to fit.
I said my second pass has got the Steam sale down to $250. Two more things to talk about. Assassin's Creed, the movie, is bad, as far as everybody on the internet has said, and yet there is some weirdness with this, in that two people I know that don't play video games and probably did not know that it was a video game based movie went and watched it and liked it. So apparently it may very well have been released at the right time for an odd audience of non-video game players, which isn't very many people certainly, but they may have actually released it at the right time and gotten as much money as they could possibly have gotten out of it in some weird twist of fate. But since Assassin's Creed probably didn't do good enough to justify a sequel, that just kind of hurts me releasing other Assassin's Creed games, but whatever. I still need to catch up, so that really doesn't mean too much of anything. Maybe that is the future of video game movies. It certainly is a possibility. Spending people taking stories from video games, making it for movies for people who don't play video games. Unfortunately, that audience is just so small.
Do you hear
You might as well, at that point, take the stories of video games and make 100% Chinese-oriented movies, because those video games aren't allowed in China. I wouldn't be surprised if Assassin's Creed, if it gets played in China, doesn't do pretty good, because I wouldn't be surprised if Assassin's Creed itself wasn't allowed in China. I could be totally wrong about that. So.
The teeth I have. All realities. All
last thing, just there's this game I never heard of called Hearthstone. It's been canceled. The company that was making it, called Pixel Mage Games, is being shut down. It started in January, and it started with a Kickstarter. So, in quick succession, another Kickstarter failure game. The only thing that's slightly interesting here is that the guy who started this company, I think, was the head of marketing or something in Sony before then. So that's a little weird, but not super surprising. Somebody's going to start their company and try to kickstart a game. I've never heard of this game. It ran for a year and then it closed down. Very, very strange. So, in the next 3 days' time, there's probably not going to be much more to talk about, and I have nothing to talk about now. So I'm just going to play the rest of this off screen, and we'll just cross our fingers to have something to talk about. I guess it doesn't really matter if I fall behind. I've got plenty of extra episodes of Hearthstone. That's going to be it for this recording and recording session. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps out. If you want to support me further, go to my main YouTube page. On the right is a button that says support this channel. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.